Hi, I'm Christine from House of Smocking, and in this video, which is step 3 of making a bubble, I'm going to do the side seams first. So I like to do a French seam, which means I'm going to put wrong sides together, and then I'm going to sew a seam down that side, and then I'm going to trim it down to about 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little bit more because the fabric frays, and then I'm going to press it open and then fold it round so that we do another seam. So here we have, I've done my first seam, which is a really tiny one, and I'm going to fold it over so that the right sides are together, so along the seam edge, and I'm going to then do another seam down there. So now I have done my side seams, both sides, and I've got my French seam there. So it's a seam within a seam. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do the box pleats at the bottom here. And what I've done is I've marked the little marks for my stitching lines. So I've marked them with a little T, the ones I've got to meet together. So what we do is, I don't know if you can see this on there, yeah, just about. So I'm going to put my letter T's in together, and then I'm going to sew down for, oops, Daisy, I'm going to sew down 1.5 inches down there. Then when I've done that, I'm going to open it out and I'm going to move the next 2 T's together, and I'm going to sew down 1.5 inches down there, and then the next 2 T's together. So the 2 T's that I've marked with a water erasable pen are marked on the pattern piece as a dotted line, which is a stitching line, so I know where that I want to do my stitching. And then when I've done my stitching, I will flatten that out, and I'll show you when I've finished the seams. So now hopefully you can see that I've done my 3 pleats, and what we do next is we flatten them out to the centre like that, and then we stitch across to make them flat. So that's my 3 box pleats. So we'll move on to the next stage. So the next stage with this is we're going to turn over 1/4 inch, and then we're going to turn over so that that lines up. So when we've turned our 1/4 inch over, we're then going to sew a seam straight across. So I've done the other side already, so there you can see that I folded it over, matched the chamfered edge there on both sides, and then just done a straight stitch. So the next thing to do is, once I've done the other side, is we fold over again 1/4 inch there, and then about 1 centimetre, which will give me a casing for my elastic, and I want to sew as close to this edge as I can, and then I'll put another row of stitching along that edge, the outside edge as well, which will form the elastic casing. So now you can see that I've done the legs, both sides. I've turned over 1/4 inch and then 1 centimetre, and hopefully you can see that I've done a seam, a stitching line right on the edge and also on the edge there. So it gives me a nice crisp edge for when I put the elastic in. So to feed the elastic through, this is a brilliant tool, and what you do is you feed it through the casing first, pull the elastic back through. So the thing to remember is to, when you're pushing this through the casing, to push it against the seam. So in this case I'd be going that way, so that when I pull the elastic through, it feeds through that where the seam goes round through much easier. So I'll show you if I just push. So I'm going to push it through here. So I'm going through there all the way along And then this has got a little loop and hook, or hook on the end. You pop your elastic on the end, flip that over, and then as it draws it through, and you just keep pulling to make sure that when you don't pull the elastic out through the edge. Just going to pull it so it disappears in slightly into there, and then I'm going to sew a machine stitching across there to hold it before I pull the rest through, or just put a pin in until you've got the other end out to hold it in place. So here we have the legs finished with the elastic inside, and the last thing to do is put the little poppers on to finish that off, and then the buttons on the back. But there we have our little bubble, and this is a size 3 months, so it's quite tiny, as you can see. But I'm hoping these videos have helped in making up a bubble. Thanks for watching.